So today I'm going to be talking about picture books, like all about picture books. Some of my favorite ones I might mention. I know I'm going to talk about my favorite picture book authors. I'm going to talk about just growing up with picture books and everything about picture books. So that's what the topic today is going to be. I'm going to be coloring this picture from Sustos y Sueños, this coloring book right here. I have the principal version. My Crayola crayons. This is the ultimate coloring pack. So picture books have pretty much like always been in my life. They were like one of the first, probably the first like introduction to books, I guess. And I always really loved them. Really, the art impacted me a lot in the picture books. I always used to think the art in picture books is just really, really cool. Sorry, I'm trying to find a specific crayon so I can start coloring this picture. Like, I'm looking over there, it's because that's where my notes are, just a couple of bullet points so I don't forget anything, or if I have blank brain, which happens often, that I'll have something to talk about at all. So the next thing I want to mention, and I feel like maybe some of y'all have already also gone through this, but when I was in the 2nd grade, let me get the crayon and then I will start talking again. So yeah, when I was in the 2nd grade, I had this wacko teacher who was just really rude, and I don't even remember their name or anything about them, but I remember what they told me. Like I said, I've always loved picture books growing up, from like even before kindergarten, like just as much as I can remember. I've always loved picture books. And so yeah, this particular teacher, and again, I don't know their name, I don't know anything about them, I don't remember, but I remember what they said to me. And we were in like, I feel like it was like the library, possibly, or maybe this was a classroom, but the teacher was like, oh, you don't need to be reading those anymore. Like, you're a 2nd grader now, you need to be reading chapter books. And I was just like, that's so mean. And so she like shamed me for reading picture books, and I was like, chapter books are boring, dude. Like, why would I want to read those? So that happened, and I was like, whatever. But that's the thing about the chapter books and the picture books, is I was never, no matter what grade I was in when I was in school, I never really got into chapter books ever. And I definitely never got into novels. So that's just all I wanted to read, is like nonfiction books from the bookstores, from the library, from, you know, wherever they have books. I would always want to read the nonfictions, or I would want to read the picture books. So yeah, never was really interested in novels or chapter books at all. Even still, I don't really read novels. I read a lot of audiobooks. Not a lot. Let me take that back a second. I listen to audiobooks, and really only like, I probably only even read 2 or 3 audiobooks in my adulthood, because that just doesn't interest me. When I think of picture books, I think of like being happy, and I think of like, you know, my favorite, 2 of my favorite things, sunlight and jazz, are associated with picture books. So I just have a really happy association with them in my brain when I think about them. And then when I was older, I was saying, I never really like got out of picture books, so to speak. In my like adulthood, I found these at like Walmart one time. These 20 Scholastic Storybook Treasures, and I have like a whole bunch of them. because I collect them. I don't even think they make these anymore, but they're so good. Like, so there's, what it is all these are like Scholastic, which is a children's publishing book company, and they have like 20 different picture book stories on them. Like, that's Corduroy, and you know, all these different ones. But it's like a little animated version of the story. And they're just really sweet, and I recommend these definitely to anybody. But like I said, I don't think they're available anymore, these specific ones, the 20 ones, but you can still find like the DVDs, the stories on DVD if you're interested in that. They're, most of them are online now, so me, I'm living in the past. I collect DVDs still, but yeah, all these are pretty much streaming. So I would say my favorite picture book authors are definitely Maurice Sendak. I just really love looking at his picture books. He's an illustrator. I mean, I don't even have to really give him an introduction. Like, y'all know who Maurice Sendak is, but he's an illustrator, and he made the Where the Wild Thing books are. Yeah, and I just really like enjoy looking at his art. I like looking at the cross hatching and the hatching of it. I think that's really cool. Just really looking at the art is really interesting to me. So my next favorite illustrator is Fred Crump Jr. And he is known for his retellings of, reimaginings, not retellings, of fairy tales, but like including like Black characters. And I really, especially as a kid growing up, I thought that was really cool, and I liked looking at his art style. It just really interests me. So yeah, Fred Crump Jr., and he was like an art teacher in his life. I don't have any of his books though, which is really sad, because growing up, like, I think we had got them from like an indie bookstore anyways, but we had so many of those books by him growing up, but I wasn't able to preserve them for my bookshelf. So I don't know what happened to them, but they were really great books. And I think some of them you can still find on Amazon and online, so definitely go check that out if you can, or try to look up like story times on YouTube of Fred Crump Jr.'s books, because they're really cool. So my next favorite author slash illustrator is gonna be James Marshall. Okay, so he made all the like Fox books, if you're familiar with those. And he has retellings of fairy tales as well, or reimaginings. Reimaginings and retellings, I think. Super famous, part of the LGBTQ community, so definitely cool. And yeah, I really think his art style is interesting as well. And I always looking at his art, and when I like actually saw what he looked like, and I'm saying this totally with so much love, but I used to think like that face, I guess, or the eyes that he does on his characters, like actually looks like him. Like his characters kind of like look like him. And I thought that was really an interesting thing to do as an illustrator. Or maybe I'm just totally tripping and they don't look like him at all. But I thought that they did. It's just really fun to read his books. He has a really like interesting sense of humor, and I just really like it. And so my next favorite illustrator is Ezra Jack Keats. You know him from Snowy Day and the Peter books. If you've seen those, you probably have. He's super famous. Like, all these people are like super duper famous. Fred Crump Jr. is kind of an indie writer. You don't hear a lot of people talking about him nowadays, but they should, because he's got really cool art. But yeah, Ezra Jack Keats, I love his art style because it's like a collage kind of a thing, like multiple media formats put together. And I just always like looking at stuff like that. Like, it reminds me a little bit, sort of like makes me think of, but it's not the same thing at all. Like in Blue's Clues, how they have like they take a picture of the thing and make it like 3D and put it in like the house. Like it's actual things, like photographs of things, but they put it in the house. I don't know how to explain that any more than I just did. If you know what I'm talking about, please say in the comments, like, I know what you're talking about. You're not a crazy person this time. But, yeah. And so it kind of reminds me of that sort of a thing, or makes me think of it. And different textures of paper and things like that. Like, and the collage picture book style has really come back into the forefront. Like, there's a lot of, like, collage-y, mosaic-y picture books that people are, like, making nowadays. And I think that's really cool. I might make one day because I think that's a really cool style. So I'm absolutely, definitely inspired by Ezra Jack Keats' art style in his books. And I really love that he features children of color, black children and brown children and things like that, because I think that's really cool. And Ezra Jack Keats and Fred Crump Jr., like, they're both not like people of color, they're like white, and they chose to make books featuring like black and brown people, and I think that's really cool. Allies are really cool. Yeah, because representation matters. It really does. My next favorite author and illustrator is Ayana Sancioni. And I'll tell you why. You know, I have never really seen like my type of art before. And I know I probably sound really cringy saying that, but I mean, yeah, we've seen cartoons before, but you know, especially like, and I guess I'm talking about cartoons, picture book cartoons, both things, but you know, especially like Puerto Rican cartoons and, you know, Latina cartoons and stuff like that. Like, you don't see a lot of those that aren't like made out of terrible, played out, lame, whack stereotypes and misrepresentations. And it's like, my picture books, my coloring books are very like, you know, LGBTQ heavy. And that's something I think is really cool. And, you know, Ayana Sancioni, me, as an author, as an illustrator, I don't write down. And what I mean by that is like, and then the two characters, like, jumped. J-U-M-P, jump. You know what I mean? Like, I don't write down or like make my, what I mean by that is make the picture book, the writing, like for babies, I guess you can say. Is what I mean by writing down. I meant like age, I guess. Because I think I do that for two reasons. One is because I think people underestimate like how much like children can understand, for example. Like making it like so babyish, it's like, that's like kind of lame. But then also it's like, okay, well, Hornosito isn't made for, like, that's not my target audience. You know, my target audience is like young people like me who, you know, like cartoons, like coloring, like, you know, like are LGBTQ and, you know, part of the club and everything, and who don't feed, and Puerto Ricans as well, you know, and, you know, weirdos who don't feel like they're, you know, represented in like media a lot, or I don't know how to explain it, but that's kind of who Hornecitos were. People who like cartoons, brown Puerto Ricans, and black Puerto Ricans, and just anyone who likes it. You know? Because it's kind of hard for me to multitask. I should have thought about that before I just started to do this. Yeah, so next I want to talk about, like, now I'm the one making picture books. And that's definitely different. I'm gonna talk more about this on the passion and purpose video that I do whenever I do that, but you know, I mean, for a long time, excuse me, for a long time, I would just be thinking like, what, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like that sort of thing. And I would always have an answer that I guess other people just wanted to hear, not what speaks to me, what speaks to my soul, what speaks to me. And so yeah, I would just say whatever, you know. A lot of times I'd be thinking like, okay, what's gonna make the most money? Because like all the adults in my life were telling me like, you know, you just want to make a bunch of money, like that's the goal, like, you know, I mean, I didn't even know how miserable like grown-ups were until I became one. That sounds terrible, that sounds crazy, but like literally like bills and I'm going off on a tangent, I think, but like I'm saying about that is what's gonna make the most money, what, you know. And then sometimes, like as I got older, I guess, sometimes I would say like things that I was interested in, but I was like, I'm kind of interested in it, but I don't want to be doing that for the rest of my life. But I just couldn't really see myself doing any of those things that I would say when people would ask me that. So then I was thinking when I was older, you know, a certain time when I was like, what are you good at doing? Like I wanted to have a career that my skills would be used in the best way. Like whatever I'm good at, I can do that as a career and it will make me money and everything. So I was thinking like, okay, what am I good at? Oh my gosh, that's terrible. But I was like, what am I good at? And, you know, I just couldn't, for the longest time, I just couldn't think of anything. And that's really sad. But that's the way it was. And then within the past 4 years, I asked myself, okay, like, you know, what are you good at? Like, what makes you happy? What brings you joy when you do it? And the answer was just picture books. When I read them, when I like see them, it just brings me joy. And I mean, I knew I've always been interested in art, even as a kid. But really just when I answered that question, I was like, picture books, like they bring me joy. I enjoy seeing them and reading them and everything. And so I was like, okay, picture book author and illustrator, because obviously, like I said, I knew I'm an artist since all my life I've been making art. And it was like, okay, well, I know that's something I can do. I can be a picture book author, and the joy that I get from reading the books and looking at the pictures, like, or that I got from doing that, would translate into making them. And excuse me, I'm gonna get a little bit emotional. And then, you know, that's really when I kept getting all these signs. Like, leading me to doing that. And when Hornosito came to me on a cloud in my imagination. And, you know, when I would be working on it, I would be getting signs, like, when I'm working on it, like, that this is the right path for me. Getting emotional about it, because it's just like, when you have something that brings you joy, and you're really good at it, and it feels like a life's purpose kind of a thing, like, I don't know, it just makes me emotional. I'm trying not to cry because I have to do a live later. Oh gosh, I'm gonna be right back. Okay, I think I'm good. I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh my gosh, I don't remember what I was talking about. But life purpose, blah blah blah. Yeah, it makes me emotional because I just really love getting to know these Hornosito characters and their friendships and their stories and their books and their, like, drawing them and their episodes and how they interact with each other and just everything that goes on in that house and that whole world. You know, it's just really a really great pleasure to just learn more about them and, you know. So it's just really important to me. And, you know, there's people who, I'm gonna sound like a hater. Let me sound like a hater for a second. There's people who, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna sound like a hater, but I'm gonna say it anyways because I can feel it in my heart. Like, this is how I feel. Like, celebrities and, like, people who are just like, oh, I'm gonna make a picture book or write a picture book just to do it. Oh, I sound like such a hater. Haterade is a bitter drink. But I don't know. Something about that just doesn't speak to me when people do that. I mean, I know everybody has a unique story within them that needs to get out. Well, has a unique story within them, and everybody's an artist and everything, but, and it's, I'm not even talking about, like, art, like, pictures. I'm talking about, like, all these celebrities coming out writing picture books as, like, a one-off sort of a thing. I don't know. So for some reason that feels insulting to me and just hurts my heart. Insulting to me. Like, I sound like such a hater. I'm not trying to. And maybe I'll just cut this part out. I don't know. But that bothers me. And the last thing that I want to say is that, you know, if ever... the last thing that I want to say is if you, like, if you're ever struggling, like, with a gift to give me, if it's, like, my birthday or, you know, Holly Jolly season or a special occasion or as fan mail or something like that, please send picture books. Like, especially the classics or indie picture books or ones that you like, anything like that, or ones that I like. I don't have many classics on my bookshelf right now, but anything, like, even if I have doubles, like, I want doubles too. If I have them, I have them. You know, and I think that's just really cool. I love picture books, and I always get happy about them, and they make great presents for me for any occasion. So if you know me or you're a fan and you're sending fan mail, I love picture books. Thank you. So that's what I wanted to say. So I didn't finish my picture that I was coloring in. That's as far as I got. And I'm probably going to work on this some more when I do the next 20-minute or however long coloring and talk video. This might actually be the only one I can do because I'm not very good at multitasking. Found that out today. So that's going to be it for this video. Tell me your favorite picture books in the comments, or your favorite picture book authors, or if you love picture books too, say it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, and talk about that, because I love talking about stuff I love. So that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching.